Welcome to the Agents Lounge podcast, where we talk all things real estate with the industry's top performers. Join us as we dive into the inspiring journeys of successful agents and uncover the secrets to their success. Whether you're a seasoned agent or just starting out, we got the tips and tricks to help you navigate the world of real estate. Brought to you by Integrity Comfort Solutions. So grab a seat and join us in the Agents Lounge.
And welcome back to the Agents Lounge podcast. I'm your host, Marco Salinas, and I am joined here as usual today by Mr. Francisco Bermudez Jr. with Integrity Comfort Solutions, which is our show sponsor. Say hello, Francisco.
Hey, everyone.
All right, we're doing it again. We're at it again, right? Yeah. We've got a very special real estate agent joining us here today, Miss Cynthia Parsons with Keller Williams City View, both residential and commercial. Isn't that right, Cynthia?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been in real estate for a little over 10 years and just got into commercial about a year and a half ago.
Very nice. Well, we are so happy to have you joining us today. Welcome to the Agents Lounge podcast officially.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited.
Great stuff. We love talking with agents that, didn't just start like yesterday, because you are able to bring some real knowledge and some real experience to the table. You've been through, since what was the year that you started?
2014.
2014. Okay, so the market was drastically different in 2014 to where it's at today.
Very different.
And it's been through a lot of ebbs and flows.
It absolutely has.
Right? And
Yeah.
so I'm hoping to pull out some of that knowledge that you've experienced from that,
Sure.
right? There was a little hiccup that happened. I don't know if anybody noticed in 2020, something happened. Very small bump in the road. It was called COVID, right?
Yeah.
Had a pretty significant impact on the real estate market,
Yeah.
right? And so that kind of changed the trajectory of things quite a bit. And so I want to kind of talk a little bit about that, what you kind of see, what you saw, and maybe where you think things might go. Nobody has a crystal ball, right? But, based on your years of experience, you might be able to bring some insights for those that are listening that might be interested in buying a home sometime soon. I know one thing for sure, Cynthia, I know there's a lot of people that are still on the fence right now. They want to move, but they're just kind of like, I don't like these interest rates. The house prices are still really high. I'm going to wait for the pricing to come way back down like it was in 2014. It's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, when we had that big boom about a year into COVID, where we saw a lot of home prices go up, multiple offers with practically every home. Even when I had listed a home for $1,050,000, we had multiple offers, and that was really, unforeseen. And so people thought, okay, things are calming down. We're going to see, the market crash again because, these prices aren't sustainable. Well, a couple of years ago, it was probably 3 years ago, I saw a graph. I attended a conference, and they showed us a graph of historically your equity in your home increases about 4% per year. And that, of course, varies depending on what area you're in. But basically, historically, it's 4%. And then, of course, we had the big crash in 2009, and all the prices dropped.
Yeah.
And then, there was that recovery. And then, come to 2022, and they showed us the graph from 1980 to the present day at the time. And the market was actually adjusting itself. So if nothing had happened in 2008, it would have been a 4%. So it was recovering from 2008, which told us that, no, prices aren't going to go down. They just the market was being corrected.
Right.
And I was amazed to see that.
Yeah.
And then people thought, okay, after, COVID and everything kind of got back to normal, that you're going to see a lot of foreclosures because a lot of families were able to postpone paying their monthly payment until, things stabilized.
Right.
And so people were waiting for the foreclosures, and it didn't come.
Yeah.
So what I tell my clients is, It's really never the wrong time to purchase a home because the best way for anyone in the United States to build wealth is through real estate. And so you can't go wrong. You can purchase the home at a higher interest rate, and then you can turn around and refinance that.
Sure. Yeah. The other thing I think that's important is to zoom out a little bit. Sometimes we get a little too zoomed in on where we are right now with the rates and the market and things like this. You know, my daddy was a real estate agent in the late
Oh,
70s
cool.
with a company called Century 21.
Yep.
And at that time, the rates were close to 20%. He was doing interest only loans on those houses, right?
Oh, wow.
Now, we got so spoiled with 2 point da 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 or 3 point da da da, right? That we can't even fathom close to 20%. But if you zoom out a little bit, really, rates are still considered low
Yeah,
right now.
absolutely.
Am I wrong on that, Cynthia?
No, you're absolutely right. My first home was at 13%, so I'm kind of aging myself. But yeah, 13%. Then the rates started going down, and you refinance, and all the time you're building the equity in the home, and before you know it, you've got tens of thousands of dollars that you invested over a period of years
Yeah,
that now you can invest in something else.
sure. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yep. Were you going to ask a question?
No, no,
You
no.
look like you got something
So much.
something brewing up. Okay, now what I'm curious to ask or to know about, Cynthia, is when you made that decision to start real estate around 2013, 2014. Now you mentioned that you have a master's degree, right, in business,
A business, yep.
and that was from what school?
It was from National Lewis
Okay,
and then DeVry Keller Business.
got you. Okay, so you've got kind of the business background. What was life like before real estate for you? What was your other life?
Yeah, it was completely different. I am a licensed respiratory therapist. I won't give the license up because that would be really hard to get back.
Wow.
And so started in the hospital and then got into the home medical equipment, home health, and infusion pharmacy.
Interesting.
And then ended up in compliance. So it was all about making sure that you provided the best quality care for patients. I
Yeah.
was very passionate about that.
Wow.
With my last job, I was traveling 100% of the time around the United States, and I really just got tired of that. We were at a point financially that I could step back and do something else. I really didn't know what I wanted to do when I grew up, and someone suggested that I get into real estate. And I'm like, I'm not a salesperson. I don't like hearing no. I don't like asking for myself. I'll ask for anybody else, but I don't like asking for myself, which obviously is a problem if you've got to go find business. And she said, "Oh, you network and, you involved in fundraisers and, you work the room." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And, really what pushed me over the edge to get into real estate is when we first moved here, we had a realtor and he was as nice as could be. However, he didn't do his due diligence.
I was gonna say
for
there's a
us.
but in there
Yeah.
somewhere. Yeah.
And unfortunately, it was right after the crash. So, home prices had dropped a little bit,
Yeah.
had nothing, no knowledge of real estate. Moved down here from Chicago. So, didn't know if the job was going to work out or anything. And there was really no discussion about that. It was like, hey, let's find you a house.
Yeah.
It was new construction, and he didn't do comps. So you always want to do the comparables to make sure you're getting a good deal. Now, how could that happen? Well, in 2008, the regulations hadn't changed, right? It came out of what happened.
I see.
And so the builder hired the lender, and the lender hired the appraiser, and we purchased a home that was $50,000 overpriced.
Oh,
And so
man.
it took a long time for us to recover. So,
Gosh.
I thought, I don't want someone else to go through that. I mean, in the end, we were going to move back to Chicago. after my position at a particular company didn't work out, and we couldn't because we would have taken a bath on our house.
I see.
And so I thought, I don't want other people to go through that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
with relocation families, it's sitting down with them and saying, do you know the area you want? Are you sure that's the area? Are you sure the job's going to work out?
Yeah.
Now, am I talking myself out of business? I could be, but I'm doing what's best for that family so that 6 months later or a year later, they weren't in that same position that I was.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel that it's good karma. So if what goes around comes around, and I did my due diligence, and if they still end up buying, I'm there for them, and if they want to hold off, I'm there for them as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a perfect example of that is I had a great family that was looking for a home. They live in Puerto Rico. They lived here. Both of their boys were going to go to USTA. Did I say that right? UTSA.
UTSA.
Yeah,
There you go.
UTSA.
We're close.
Yeah. And so they wanted to buy a home for them, and they're eventually going to be coming back to San Antonio. So about 9 months after they purchased the home, COVID hit. The boys wanted to go back home to Puerto Rico because everything's online anyway.
Right. Right.
She said, Cynthia, we need you to sell our house. And I said, I'd love to list your house, but you are going to take a bath. You just purchased it 9 months ago. The price has gone down a little bit. You have to pay my commission. You have to pay, you will most likely have to pay that buyer agent's commission.
Yeah.
Let's wait. So I hooked him up with a property management company because I don't do that. And then a couple years ago, the price went really high. And it was like, hey, Barbara, it is time to sell your house. And she's like, oh, no, I don't want to. It's doing so well. And it's like, I lost the business, but that's okay because I did what was right for them.
Right. That's right.
And 3 weeks ago, I got a call from someone who said, Chris, who is one of their sons, in Puerto Rico, Chris has recommended you. I'm looking for a home in San Antonio. And I'm like, what? How did that happen? She said, well, she teaches for military kids, but she's a civilian, and she got a job in Puerto Rico, and then she got a really good offer here. So she decided to come here instead. And she said, I saw Texas plates on a car and started talking to this person who was Chris, and he gave me her as a referral.
Wow.
So
Not
things,
too shabby.
I know.
Yeah.
That was years later, but still.
That's right.
So it's pretty
That's right.
cool.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually when you do right by people, sometimes it takes a little while, but a lot of that stuff does make its way back.
Yeah.
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 So, and then that's another client that will be hopefully inclined to also refer you to somebody else, right? So it's a
Exactly.
ripple effect.
It is.
And you mentioned that when you started your real estate, how was that? Because that was also after 2008, right?
Yeah, 2014. I mean, it was hard for me. They wanted me to do cold calling, and I'd be shaking, and
I'd rather work in a coal mine, honestly.
it's
It's really rough. Yeah.
Well, I had a friend who worked for one of the builders, and so he let me do open houses. And, you don't get leads most of the time, or they don't come through. But actually, my first two listings were from the open house. And then I just really built it up from there. The one that lived right across the street from someone who was wanting to sell. So she referred me to the person across the street. And then I did such a good job with those two that they had someone down the street. So it was just like I had three on one street.
Yeah.
And so it just started slowly but surely.
Snowballing.
Yeah. Now, over the last few years, it's really been networking. And I didn't realize that, I love real estate, so don't get me wrong here. But I found that my passion is connecting people.
I see.
So, and it's funny, people say, I can see your brain working as, it's like, I'll meet someone in air conditioning, like you, Francisco, and it's like, okay, now who do I know that I can introduce you to?
Yeah.
Or within my networking group. So National Association of Women Business Owners, and then of course, BNI are my two big ones. And so I'm always thinking, okay, who can I connect that person with? Even if they might not be getting a referral from them, but maybe they can collaborate, right?
Yep.
So to make sure that they can help each other.
Yes.
And it's easier for me to do that and then build that goodwill for them to think about me as opposed to me just asking for business.
Sure.
It's kind of like that giver's gain, right?
That's right. The old giver's gain. It actually does
Yeah.
work.
It does work, and
It does work.
it makes me feel good when I can do that.
Yeah.
And then, I get referrals because I'm helping them out so much. So it's a much easier way than cold calling.
That's right.
I
That's
like
awful.
they teach you, okay, say, hey, I'm the best, and I can sell your house, and it's like, but you have 50 other people saying the same thing.
Right.
I
They've
can't.
never heard that before, right?
Yeah, I can't be that person.
Right.
So the
Now-
networking is it.
I think one thing though it's worth mentioning, Cynthia, is that the game that you're playing it's a little bit more of a longer game. It's you're not going to turn around the very next day and all of a sudden you've got all this business that you can't keep up with. It takes a little while to build that, right? To get that, especially with the networking and all that. It does pay off. It does pay big dividends, but you've got to be kind of in it for the longer haul. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not handing your card to someone and thinking that they're gonna use you. It's all about people that trust you, know you, like you,
Yeah.
and want to genuinely help you.
Sure. Yeah. Now, what are you seeing right now where we're at the time of this recording? We are
May 2nd or 3rd.
getting close to summer, 2024. It's been kind of crazy the last couple of years, of course. So what is the market looking like now? Because I have a friend of mine that was looking for a home, and he was sharing with me that these houses are around 400,000, kind of Alamo Heights area and that sort of thing. He's like, the house disappears like that. It's a bidding wars. I mean, it's back to that. It's almost, but I know that that's not happening across the board.
It's not 400,000 in Alamo Heights. Yeah, I could see that there's the multiple bids
Because
on
that's a great deal there still, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it probably needs a lot of work, but someone that's willing to put that work in.
Yep.
Yeah, well, the interest rates are definitely hindering, as we talked about before, certain buyers from getting in. What I'm seeing is a lot of people going to new builds. And I do maybe 2 or 3 a year of new builds. And in the last month and a half, I've signed 4 contracts
Wow.
with buyers.
Gosh.
And it's because the builders are offering incentives that will buy down the interest rate and then also help with closing costs. So, it does affect the price because, I just signed one, they're getting 30,000 in incentives. But then that really means in terms if you look at it with the builder, it's the value of the home is $30,000 less.
Yeah.
But it helps even first-time home buyers buy their first home.
Yeah.
Because there are new builds that can range from 200,000. I've seen as low as 180.
Yeah.
In decent, safe areas, and then it's perfect. And then if that person is ready in a few years to sell or to build their rental portfolio,
Yeah.
it's a perfect opportunity for them to build equity and then move on to, a home that might be their forever home or a home that they'll at least stay in and start a family with.
Yeah. What are you seeing in terms of maybe like credit score type things? Are you finding that your prospects are good in that department, or are you seeing people struggling to get those numbers? And where are kind of the numbers right now, minimum score wise?
It depends on whether you're FHA. I believe that's 580. And then FHA, I think, is around 620. And
Okay.
then conventional, I think, is around the same. And then the better your credit score is, the better your interest rate is.
Yeah.
I mean, it can only go down so low, right?
Right.
But you're going to get a better interest rate the higher your credit score
Yeah.
is and your debt to ratio.
Yeah, 580 is pretty low. That's pretty generous.
That's been, in effect for years.
Has it?
It hasn't
Okay.
changed, yeah.
I see. But you're certainly not getting any kind of a top-notch rate if you're in the 580 range, probably, right?
No,
But you'll get approved.
you'll get approved.
At least you can get
Right.
approved. Yeah.
And then you
exactly.
build your credit up and
Right.
your equity, and hopefully in a few years, then you're ready to buy another home.
Yeah. How about, do you do any stuff with veterans? Any VA loans and things like that that you're working with?
Yeah, and I've got an awesome lender who has worked as a lender for over 20 years, and he's an expert at VA. We know as realtors, some things we're not an expert. So
Sure.
we've got the information for our clients to a certain extent. And then it's like you need to go to the lender and have them talk to you, especially about closing costs and interest rates and the things they should and shouldn't be doing during that process of purchasing a home.
Yeah.
They don't want to open up any accounts or anything.
Yep.
And yeah, I am certified to work with VA. It's just another credential
Yep.
to work with military families.
There's a fair share of them in San Antonio, aren't there?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Military City, USA. Yeah.
yeah,
Exactly.
and medical
And
is
medical as
huge.
well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
both of those.
And you have a background in that world, so I'm sure you can connect with them well.
Yeah, I think because of my experience in healthcare and especially focusing on compliance with patient care, it was real easy to transfer that over to my clients.
Yeah.
I want my clients to have a really good and positive experience. And that comes from the patient background of it's so important to compliance, follow the law, do the right thing by your clients, and take care of them.
Yeah.
Is the most important thing.
For sure. So do open houses still work, Cynthia, in this day and age, in the Zillow era, so to speak? Do people still show up?
Yeah, people still show up, depending on the area and the price point and whatnot. I've definitely picked up buyers. I do some commercial as well, and I picked up someone who was interested in multifamily. He's got 3 single-family rentals and wants to get into multifamily. So,
Nice.
it's you don't get someone every time you do an open house, but yeah, I've gotten leads that
So
way.
they still have potential for sure.
Absolutely.
Okay, I was kind of wondering if that was still working. Now, let's talk a little bit about the commercial side of things. You've kind of been moving in that direction a little bit more lately, right? What have you seen in that space, and what type of clients are you working with on the commercial side of things? Are these big giant warehouses, or are they small? I own a salon. I need to just get a kind of a retail space here. Just everything in between.
Well, because of my connections, especially with the National Association of Women Business Owners, we have over 200 members, and I'm on the board as Director of Member Services. So
Not a bad spot.
it's a good way to build relationships with business owners that are going to need the space. But really, when I first got into it, because KW Commercial has a home mentoring program, because you don't want to use anyone that's primarily residential that doesn't have that commercial experience or doesn't have that support from other commercial agents.
Yeah.
Because it is a very different world. And so I thought, well, the things that I would like to focus on is, because I was in the home care industry, to do healthcare properties, specifically home health,
Yeah.
home medical equipment, even assisted living. And I am working on that, but then I've gotten other leads. So I've done a small retail. I'm working with clients now that are looking for 12,000 plus square foot lease. So that's huge.
Yeah.
And then I just picked up a client. It's a syndication that want to invest in a multifamily in San Antonio. And so I just started working with them a few weeks ago.
Very, very
So
cool.
it's
Yeah.
like, now because I can pull the resources, like my mentor, Rob, I called him when I got the lead for the multifamily, and I said, Rob, do you want to be my partner? Instead of just a mentor, let's do this 50-50,
Yeah.
because I don't know what I'm doing, but I can do all the grunt work. Goes back to the compliance thing. I want to make sure my clients are taken care of.
Yeah.
And it's a totally different world.
Sure, I bet it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things maybe you know about this, maybe not, but I've seen that there's an increase in it's basically like you mentioned it. Instead of going to the nursing home, it's kind of like a nursing home, but it's a house.
Yeah, those are called care homes.
Care homes,
Care
okay.
homes. And
Can
it's
you
so
speak on that a little bit? Do you know some of that?
yeah, it's kind of funny because when I was 18 or 19, so this was a long time ago, when I lived in the Detroit area, because I was born and raised there, I decided I was going to get out of what I was doing, which was waitressing and whatnot, and do something in the healthcare field because that's where I was moving towards. And so at the time, they called them group homes.
Okay.
And so there, the first home I worked at was 6 to 7 residents. They were all in, their senior years,
Yeah.
and they were disabled in terms of they had mental struggles.
Okay.
And so it was just around the clock. And so I, worked a shift and I would help them cook and take their, make sure they took their meds and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so years later, now I've, made a good friend who is in that business, and I'm learning a lot more about care homes where you can have up to, I believe it is 6 to 8 without it being commercially zoned.
Mm,
You have to still have all the safety and
right.
fire things in them, and yeah, it's a great alternative. And insurance companies, especially Medicare, will pay for that. So we're seeing a lot more pop up here. I'm actually working with a client who's looking for a care home right now.
Wow. So technically, that's not commercial, though.
It can be.
It
So
can be.
yeah,
Okay.
it's interesting. If it's over 6 or 8 beds, then you can't get a license unless it's zoned commercial.
Okay.
So there was a home in Alamo Heights that it was zoned a long time ago because it wouldn't happen today.
Yeah.
It was zoned commercial, and it was a residential home that they added on to, and it was a 16 bed.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So it's commercial. And then
Yeah.
the same owner of that owned a smaller home right in the middle of a subdivision, and that was commercial. Now, again, you don't see that now
Yeah.
because, people aren't going to agree to
Allow
have
that in
one
there.
house.
Yeah.
One house being zoned commercial.
Sure.
So they're zoned residential. If they're smaller, and then if they're larger, up to 16 bed, then they have to be commercial in order to have that many residents in their
Wow.
home.
That's really interesting. But sounds like a great investor also opportunity for those that are in that space, because there are a lot of boomers that are getting into that category, and they're not all going to want to just go to a nursing home.
Well, and a lot of them don't need to either. They need, they don't need that kind of
Full
care.
blown, yeah.
Yeah. So it's a perfect alternative to having to go into an assisted living type.
Yeah.
It's more like home.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's really great stuff. Cynthia, you've got some great knowledge and great experience in not just real estate. I mean, a multitude of things, but I see how you've been able to kind of take it all and combine it into your real estate experience. Yeah. Now, when you're not selling houses or you're not selling commercial properties, we're getting close to winding down, but I want to know a little bit about more of the personal side. What does your free time typically look like when you do have some free time?
Yeah, well, my husband and I absolutely love traveling. We usually go on one big trip somewhere. Last year it was Chile.
Wow.
We've been all over the world.
Wow.
So yeah, Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, England,
How cool.
Europe. Yeah, so we
Everything.
absolutely love that. We like to focus on wine. So we go to a lot of places that have wineries that we can, do some wine trips.
Yeah.
And then, of course, food comes along with that.
And it's usually good food too, by the way,
Oh,
right?
it's really, yeah, it's
Yeah.
really, and we love to cook and entertain too. So yeah, so we do that. We don't have any children, so it's just the two of us, and that way, that's why we have the free time that we do.
Free birds over here, yeah.
And then I'm addicted to Club Pilates, to Reformer
Oh,
Pilates. So as of today, because I did 2 classes this morning, I try to do like at least 8 a week
okay.
and do back to back. I'm at 977 classes in just a little over 3 years.
Wow. My God.
Yeah,
That's
so I'm
commi-
like, I have 23 to go and I'll hit my 1,000.
My
Yeah.
goodness. Yeah, and so you're actually an instructor?
Oh, no, no.
You're just
I
attending.
could be, I guess, but yeah, I attend.
That is pretty
And
cool.
Yeah.
yeah, do you guys know what reformer is?
I don't know reformer. No.
So yeah, the Pilates is, all the core, but this is like a carriage that has springs.
Oh,
And so it's all about your core, but you're working pretty much your whole body.
I see.
So today I did suspend, which is like the TRX.
Oh, yeah.
But then we also, combine that with the carriage.
Yeah.
The class before that, it was called chair. So it's like a chair with springs instead of a carriage.
Okay.
And then sometimes it's cardio sculpt, which is a board at the bottom and you're jumping off the board.
Interesting.
So it's.
What do
I-
you
I
enjoy
just
the
love
most
it.
of Pilates?
What do I enjoy most about it?
Yeah.
Does it de-stress you? Do you just feel more
I-
energized or
I just really feel good about it, and I feel strong.
okay?
It makes me feel really
strength
strong.
builder? Yeah. Yeah. And,
Yeah.
and probably just feel accomplished as well doing all of that. 'cause
Yeah,
you're
and I've
working
been
the whole
doing it
body.
since probably 99.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Did anybody even know what that was in 99?
When I first saw the sign, I called it Pilates.
Pilates.
I was like, "Oh, what's that? It's Pilates. Let's find out what that's about." And then she quickly corrected
Yeah.
me and said, "No, it's after Joseph Pilates." And it wasn't well known because it was really focused on people who do ballet, dancers,
Yeah.
because of the core that's
Sure,
needed
sure.
for that. So then it just finally came out. Yeah, I don't know when. I just discovered it in 99. And
Sure.
It's more like also like meditation as well, right?
it's not meditation.
No, that's yoga.
Okay. I
Yeah.
tried yoga
Pilates is
at a
kind
park
of-
with my wife, and I was so distracted. I'm like I had to stop like 30 minutes in because I'm like my brain, I couldn't get it.
Yeah.
closed.
No, I think
But
Pilates
I do a
is-
lot of heavy lift. Nah, you can't tell, but I do.
It's been a few years
Yeah.
since yeah.
No, but I like to do like an alpha fitness type of deal.
Uh-huh.
And then I was already so tired from working out Monday through Friday, and we're like, we're gonna do yoga on Saturday, and I couldn't. My body was so tired that I couldn't manage it. But
Yeah.
she did Pilates for a while, but I think it's kind of hard because, like you say, you have to focus on your core.
Yeah, I mean, there's all different levels. Our club has never offered anything more than a 2.0, and that's the highest. But I'm excited that our one of our instructors is going to introduce 2.5. So if it's standing up, when it's moving, and it's fun. It's fun. You got to find something you love.
Sure,
yeah.
for sure. Yes. Cynthia, if anybody wants to continue to follow you in your journey, what's the best way to keep in touch with you?
Well, I'm on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and if you just Googled Cynthia Parsons Realty Group,
Yep.
you definitely find me there.
That'll
I've
come
got
up.
a commercial website as well as a residential website.
You
Very.
also have a
very
team with you that works with you.
Yeah, I've got, Keller Williams is great because you've got a team there. Do I have a specific another agent? No, but we have a system there at Keller Williams City View where if someone needs some help, there's one or two people that kind of can stand in for you when you go on vacation and that sort of thing.
Yeah, right. Which is very important.
It's you have to be available even when you're over on a barge in France.
That's right. Yeah. But it's also equally as important that you have some of that downtime so
Yeah.
that you're not just 24/7 on
It's
the
hard.
go. Yeah.
That's hard.
So you got to be able to blow off some steam.
Yep.
Yeah. And how better to do that with some wine in Barcelona or,
I loved
name it.
Barcelona.
Right? So many beautiful places. So, yes. Cynthia, thank you so much for your time today. It was a great pleasure in talking with you, and we really appreciate your presence.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. That does it, guys, for another episode of the Agents Lounge podcast. We will catch you here next time.
All right.
You've been listening to the Agents Lounge podcast, brought to you by Airtegrity Comfort Solutions. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or to listen to past episodes, please visit agentsloungepodcast.com.